You know, it's pretty incredible when you think about it, how modern science can be a kind of time machine, reaching back through the centuries to solve a genuine cold case. Today, we're going to do just that. We're diving into one of the biggest maritime mysteries ever, and we'll see how chemistry is finally giving names back to men who were lost to the ice over 170 years ago. Okay, so let's set the scene. Picture this. It's 1845. The famed British explorer Sir John Franklin set sail with two of the most advanced ships of the day, the HMS Erebus and HMS Terror. Their mission? To finally map the legendary and super treacherous Northwest Passage. And aboard those ships were 129 officers and crewmen. But after a final sighting by some whalers, they just vanished. All of them. Every single one. For years, there was nothing but silence. Well, decades later, stories from local Inuit hunters and frantic search parties finally led to a grim discovery. Skeletal remains just scattered across the desolate landscape of King William Island. But they were just bones, totally anonymous. And for more than 170 years, the question has haunted historians. Who were these men really? But now, a remarkable new study is finally starting to peel back the layers of this mystery. And you know, the clues aren't in some lost logbook or a buried map. Nope, they've been there the entire time, hidden in plain sight. That's right, you heard me. The key to finally identifying these lost sailors is locked deep inside their own bodies, specifically within the enamel of their teeth. So how in the world does that work? Well, to understand it, we've got to look at a field of science that's basically a type of chemical forensics. It reads stories that were written down in their bodies long before these guys ever even stepped foot on a ship. The technique is called isotopic analysis. And here's the gist of it. As your teeth are forming when you're a kid, they're absorbing tiny trace elements from the food you eat and the water you drink. And those elements create a totally unique chemical signature that gets permanently locked right into your enamel for life. And this is the absolute crucial point. Your teeth are basically a passport. The isotopes are like the stamps in that passport, and they can tell scientists exactly where in the world you spent your childhood. It's a permanent record that you just can't lose or change. Now, there's the one element that's the real hero of our story: strontium. See, the specific mix of strontium isotopes is different depending on the geology, the age and type of rocks in any given place. That geological signature gets into the soil, into the water, into the plants, and eventually into you. So your personal strontium ratio is a direct mirror of the geology where you grew up. And you can see exactly how this works on this map of the UK. It's amazing. The different colors show the unique strontium values for each region. So if your tooth has a signature that matches, say, one of those purple areas, it's almost a dead certainty that you grew up there. It literally becomes a map of people's origins. Okay, so armed with this seriously powerful tool, scientists took tooth samples from 12 of the unidentified Franklin crewmen. What were their chemical passports about to reveal? So when the scientists plotted the strontium isotope values from the teeth, wow, the results were just striking. As you can see, 11 of the samples are all clustered together pretty closely. But one point is way off on its own, a total outlier. That single data point tells an absolutely incredible story. It reveals that while 11 of these men shared a common background, one of them was an outsider. His chemical passport proved he did not grow up in the United Kingdom. And this breaks it down perfectly. The main group of sailors, their strontium levels are a match for the geology of Great Britain. But the outlier, from sample N Glade J2121, has a completely different chemical signature. It points to a childhood spent on different soil, breathing different air. So, what did the scientists do next? They hit the history books. The ship's muster rolls from that era are incredibly detailed, and they showed that out of all 129 men, only 2 were born outside the UK: Charles Johnson from Halifax, Nova Scotia, and Henry Lloyd from Kristiansand, Norway. All of a sudden, an anonymous data point was narrowed down to just 2 possible names. To solve it, they looked at another element, lead. See, the lead isotopes in the teeth of the sailor from Norway should have matched Norwegian geology, but this sample didn't. Instead, the lead data was a perfect match for someone living in Halifax, which was a British settlement at the time, and being exposed to British-made goods. The outlier was almost certainly Charles Johnson. Okay, so we found our outsider, but what about the other 11 men? Well, identifying the British sailors is a little trickier, right? Because they all came from the same country. But here again, when you combine science with historical records, you get this incredibly powerful process of elimination. Just take a look at how this works. It's so methodical. First, you take the strontium value from a tooth, like from sample NGLJ-293. Then you match that value to the specific geology of a region, in this case, the area around London. And finally, you cross-reference that with a list of all the crewmen known to have been born there. An anonymous bone suddenly has a short list of real names. And this technique is just as powerful for who it rules out. Right off the bat, 3 men were eliminated because their hometowns just had the wrong geological signature. And even more amazing, scientists were able to use DNA from living descendants today to rule out 16 more potential candidates from those shortlists. Just incredible. And this right here is where the science becomes profoundly human. It's about taking these scattered remains and step by step giving back the most fundamental thing a person has, their name. Let's walk through one last really powerful case. This is mandible NG nail J293. So step 1, analysis showed it belonged to a very young man, probably one of the 4 ship's boys on the expedition. Step 2, the strontium value matched the geology of their hometowns right around London. Then, and this is the amazing part, DNA from a living relative ruled out one of those boys, Robert Golding. And just like that, an anonymous jawbone now has a story and one of 3 possible names, Thomas Evans, George Chambers, or David Young. And this is really why it all matters. As the researchers themselves put it, this isn't just about solving some old historical puzzle. It's for the descendants. It's about honoring the memory of these men by finally shedding light on their tragic fate. Thanks to the incredible story written in their very bones, we are closer than we have ever been to knowing who these men were. The work is still going, of course, but this combination of modern science and old-school detective work leaves us with one heck of a question. Are we on the verge of finally giving every single man his name back?